Hey, my name is Taylor Lewis, and I will talk about the subject perceiving others and perceiving ourselves. On our everyday life, we go across in a store and we see a person. We automatically have a brief description of how that person is just by the way they look. Just like when they see us, they already have an idea and already have made a perception of how we are as a person. But the meaning of perception goes deeper than that. It goes with our senses as well. What we see, what we hear, what we touch, and what we smell. For instance, we walk outside and we see a dark cloud. We automatically think it's going to rain, but in actuality, it's just a cloudy day. Or for another example would be, is when we're sitting at our desk and we're having in class and we're playing around and we think we're touching a bowl, but really it's chewing gum. That's when our perceptions can be very inaccurate. But talking about perceptions, we have to also talk about person perceptions. And we go with that with judging, how we look at somebody based off of first impressions. A judging would be the lack of mental thinking. We jump to conclusions. What are the actions they are doing when we see them? If we see someone in the store arguing, we automatically think, oh, they're rowdy, we don't want to be associated with them. But maybe something serious happened. We shouldn't judge a book by its cover just of what it looks like. We need to get to know the person. So for instance would be a stereotype. That would be an inference because it's inaccurate. Inferences are not always correct, so we have to accept that. Stereotypes would be an example of the color of your skin, religion, and the clothes you wear. That's why it knocks it off if you just don't have a person perception. The role of perception is key in communication. You want to make the right communication choices. Who will we interest? What will we need to know? How do we interact with people, and will it harm anyone? You also have to make sure you establish good impressions. At a job interview, you don't want to show up late because they're going to think you're not good on punctuality. You don't want to speak in broken English because they don't think you're professional. We also need to try and engage and interact with people. Take them out, ask them questions, and get them involved. We also perceive ourselves, and that is self-concept. What is self-concept? It's perception of ourselves, the abilities, purposes, and accomplishments. Your self-concept is also dynamic. It changes over time, past, present, and future. How you explained yourself when you were 10 will be different how you explain yourself now. You will say, hey, I want to be a doctor at 10 years old, when now you work at Bilo. Your perception is different, it's dynamic. You also have extended self. How do you see yourself as a family member? Do you think you're a nice cousin, or do you think that you're mean? That would be an extended self. We also have reflected appraisals. When we receive feedback from other people and allowing it to affect you. That's why you need to have self-talk, such as positive talk. You also go through something called a self-fulfilling prophecy, when a prediction you made in a future encounter comes to pass. So you say you're going to fail a test, but you automatically go in the test, taking it, and you already have an idea that you're going to fail it. And guess what happens? You fail. You just did a self-fulfilling prophecy. Why are our perceptions inaccurate? It's because of first impressions. Judging someone by the personality is at a moment. You can't assume that just because the person is quiet that they are angry. You can't assume that just because they're crying, they are sad, when really they could just be happy. That's why you have to understand that you're just not always right. Stereotypes is when someone in social category has an ethnicity, sex, religion, occupations, physical features, and behaviors. You cannot use stereotypes because they're most likely inaccurate and they don't abide by everyone's life. We also go through a fundamental attribution error. If you had an assignment due, but a classmate didn't do it, you automatically assume she was being lazy when really her house burnt down. A fundamental attribution error is when you make a false accusation based on your thoughts. You also go through a self-serving bias, a trick to enhance your self-esteem. It's when you're being overly cocky and you say, oh, I'm better than them and I'm better than that, and you just think you're so big. You go through a transference when you're reminded of someone else's based on a person who shared traits. So if I see someone who looks like my sister, and I'm like, oh, you look like my sister, I know you're going to try to argue with me, that's when you make a transference. You can't let that perception get in the way because they just might not be the person they look like. We also can work on improving our perceptions, understand that they are error prone, seek additional information, and also help each other out. So go ask to go out and see about their family and stuff to try to get to know them. And also a major thing is make sure you know the difference between fact and opinion. As yourself, you have descriptive dimension. Understand who you are as a person. Don't let someone tell you that you are not something when really you are. You also have evaluated dimension. How do you describe yourself? So if I think that I am the best person around, that's how I believe that I am. Global self-esteem is when you reflect your self-evaluation. How do I feel about how I think about myself? Whenever you decide to speak on a specific trait about yourself, it's a domain-specific self-esteem. How do we participate in identity management? Self-disclosure. Self-disclosure is a great example of when you're trying not to tell people your private information, or you do decide to tell them. Like, you just can't be open, right? For example, you can't say that you are pregnant by someone's husband. That would be a self-disclosure, and that is not a good look. You also have public identity management. How do you act around a crowd of people? You can't sit at a business party and start twerking just because you're having fun. That is not how you handle yourself in a job interview. So, in conclusion, as I wrap my speech up, I just want you to know, just do not have an automatic perception and judge someone just by the way that you see them and view them. Because at the end of the day, your perceptions have a 50-50 chance, right or wrong. Thank you.